Wednesdays, we are absolutely thrilled that former Congressman Fred Grandy makes some time for us. He's got his hand on so many different things that are going on, and it's always great to chat with Fred, this being no exception. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning, Jeff.
How are you, sir?
I am good. I am getting ready to rumble down here because, as I informed your producer, I have to call this a cage match, Jeff, between sitting members of Congress, in this case, Michelle Bachmann, Republican of Minnesota, and Keith Ellison, Democrat of Minnesota. And this is heating up to a level I have not seen in my career.
Really?
A while back, I'm sure you remember, this was a few weeks ago now, I reported on your program that 5 members of Congress, including Congresswoman Bachmann, had sent letters to the Inspectors General of the State Department, Justice, Homeland Security, Defense, and the Office of the Director of the National Intelligence, asking for investigations on the influence of the Muslim Brotherhood and its agencies. And so while they were waiting for a response, who but Keith Ellison, Democrat, and of course, until recently, the only Muslim member of Congress. There are now 2, but he immediately leapt into the fray with an angry letter to Congresswoman Bachmann and her colleagues saying, essentially, all right, prove it. Let's see some information here.
Right.
And he started, running down the list. How do you know that the Director of National Intelligence is uninformed about the Muslim Brotherhood? How do you know they have any links to terrorism? And then, this is the best part, and this is how we got involved, Jeff. The second page of this 2-page letter is an absolute slam-dunk indictment of Frank Gaffney. Because at one point in their arguments to these inspectors general, Congresswoman Bachmann and her colleagues referred to Frank's 10-part study on the Muslim Brotherhood. Well, this was enough for Ellison to go into a deep Twitter page on Frank Gaffney and called him out and listed every single transgression. Now Frank has been in this business for 25 years, and when it comes from barbs from the left, he is used to being the goalie for the high school dart team, okay? Not a big deal.
Right.
But this has reached a level that is astounding even to us, up to and including, because Ellison immediately wrote this letter, then jumped on Anderson Cooper to blast Michelle Bachmann, and then somehow sent this out to a left-wing blog, including the New York Times, that actually incriminated Frank Gaffney and blamed him for the riots in Egypt when Hillary Clinton was there as Secretary of State.
I knew it! I knew those tomatoes and shoes were provided by Gaffney. I just had that sense, Fred.
But let me just set the record straight.
Okay.
Jeff.
Yes.
Realistically.
Yes.
If the Center for Security Policy had that kind of power, we would not be doing morning radio. We would be toppling regimes.
That's exactly correct. Well, you know, I have that on my schedule for later today. I don't know about you, but...
But anyway, now we get to the good part.
Yeah.
Because here we have Keith Ellison with these limitless ad hominem attacks on Michelle and Frank and the usual suspects.
Yep.
And, of course, the rap on Michelle is that she's a lightweight and not fully not fully prepared for these kinds of arguments. So what does she do? She sends a detailed 16-page rebuttal to Congressman Ellison, refuting every one of his allegations. And let me just take a quick one right here.
Okay.
She says, all right, you refer to James Clapper, who at one point during a hearing in the Intelligence Committee referred to the Muslim Brotherhood as a largely secular organization, which he eventually walked back. And she said, you use this as an example of trying to pile on this department. She says, I was at that hearing because I'm a member of the Intelligence Committee. And at one point, Director Clapper, who was reading from a prepared remarks, he was not speaking off the cuff and flippant, referred the whole matter to Director Mueller of the FBI, who said this, and this is a quote, I can say at the outset that elements of the Muslim Brotherhood, both here and overseas, have supported terrorism. Okay?
Oh.
That's the public record. And then she goes on to say, and among other things, even since we've talked, there's this whole matter of this guy, Hani Noor Eldin, who is a sitting member of a terrorist organization. I think I told you about this, the guy from Gamma Islamiyah who was invited into the White House to talk about freeing Omar Abdel Rahman, the blind sheikh. I mean, these are the kinds of courtesies that are being extended right now. And then she goes on to say, and in addition to that, the White House itself has said, we've had hundreds of contacts with CARE. So her argument is, Congressman Ellison We're just asking for an investigation. And by the way, that happens to be part of our constitutional oath. So this is where we are right now. And the plot thickens because obviously what we're getting from the left and Ellison and his colleagues are nothing but personal attacks on her and on Frank and on others. But the good news, Jeff, is that we now have got them engaged. They used to flick us away like gnats, saying, we don't need to talk about that. But Michelle's letter is replete with, documented public validation through the Holy Land Foundation trial in which a trial court judge and an appellate court judge said, yep, CARE, the Islamic Society of North America, and the North American Islamic Trust have ties to Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. Okay, so that's on the record. So we kind of welcome this. I mean, obviously, the personal attacks are no fun, but I have to say, on balance, I think these folks, Keith Ellison and some of these bloggers, are making our case because they are protesting too much, if you please.
Oh, absolutely. Oh. It just it does get better and better. Now, Fred, what you don't know is that for many years I worked in the world of professional wrestling. So if Michelle Bachmann needs any foreign objects or masks or gloves on one hand or thigh-high boots, I got them and I can help her out.
I appreciate that, and you might want to have her on the show to talk about her wrestling career. But I would just say this. The media, not you, but of course the mainstream media, has always portrayed her as a little less than a full-throated and intelligent member of Congress. Based on what I've told you, let me ask you this. Based on the fight between Bachmann and Ellison, just who is the shill, who is the tool, and who is the fool here? Okay?
No doubt.
I rest my case.
Absolutely. Fred, it's always good to have you here, buddy. That is former Congressman Fred Grandy. I think we should follow up with Fred's advice. We should get Michelle Bachmann back on the air to chat about that. That would be great fun. It really would. I mean, Michelle Bachmann is one tough cookie, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. I really do. I like Michelle Bachmann. I like her a lot. I'm hoping she's on the short list for vice president. I don't know if she is.